Hi everyone and welcome to Scaling Access, the role of print publishers and studios in expanding the market. Today we're diving into how print publishers, fairs and platforms are shaping the future of collecting, from building communities to making art more accessible and navigating the challenges of a rapidly evolving market. I'm thrilled to be joined by Dario Ilari, who's the founder of Jealous Gallery and Print Studio, which is an eclectic space for artists, printers and collectors in East London. Since forming Jealous in 2008, it has become a true community building space in the London art scene, which produces art to be enjoyed by everyone. We're also joined by Jack Bullen, who's the founder and director of the Woolwich Contemporary Print Fair, who launched the first edition of the fair in 2015 with Lizzie Glendinning. Hosting their 10th edition of the fair in November this year, the print has become a major staple in the London art fair circuit and has also been a major proponent of art development in Woolwich and helping to put prints firmly on the map. Lastly, we're joined by Matt Lord, who's an artist lead for Avant Arte, the curated online marketplace who is striving to make discovering and collecting art radically more accessible for a new generation. Within his team, Matt manages the artists that Avant Arte works with, coordinating new edition releases from creative direction to publication and marketing. Hi, everyone.
Excuse me.
Okay.
Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me. Oh. Excuse me. Excuse me. Please ask you a question about artwork, having come out of the Tate Modern. If you could own any work of art in the world, what would it be and why?
Well, that's a long thought, isn't it? Because there's a hell of a fucking lot of art.
That's actually interesting.
Probably Vincent van Gogh, The Starry Night.
Probably something from de Kooning.
Nice.
Great way.
Edward Hopper's Nighthawks.
It's actually a good question.
Choose the David Hockney.
Something minimal.
Yeah. I'd love a Brancusi as well. Excuse me. Could I ask you a question about art? Would that be okay?
So some of you might know me a bit better as the girl that runs around Instagram and TikTok asking one question about art, which is, if you could own any work of art in the world, what would it be and why? So Matt, maybe you want to get us started and tell us what your work would be.
Yeah, absolutely. So hi everyone, I'm Matt. It's really nice to be here. So my work, I had a real hard time in picking one. I debated, but mine was Black on Maroon, which is a painting by Mark Rothko from 1958 that hangs in the Tate. It was one of the first paintings that I ever saw as a kid when my parents took me to the Tate. And it was actually the painting, or the suite of paintings that it belongs to, the Seagram murals, that kind of sparked my interest. So yeah, that's my work.
Is that like encounter you had with the work? Were you in the room at the Tate and just surrounded by them? Yeah,
absolutely. I think from visual arts or from fine art, we expect explanation, whereas his work, completely in the same way with music, where we just accept pure emotion. He insists that you just experience it. You don't need to know anything about him to enjoy and appreciate his work. And that's what I loved about it, because even as a 7-year-old, I could, engage with this usually quite lofty artistic practice. Yeah, I love that answer. It's also great to have art that makes you feel truly small as well. Yeah, absolutely. Especially surrounded by, I'm not sure how many paintings are in that suite of paintings, but it's a dominating space for sure. Yeah. Jack, what would yours be?
Mine is Half-Life 6 After Rembrandt by Glenn Brown. I just think there's a series of these, so this is my favourite, I think, of the lot. I'd probably like the entire set, but this one in particular, I just think the mark making within it's just so beautiful and delicate, and the fluidity within it. And I just love the way in which he's kind of repurposed an old master. It looks very historic. Obviously, it's after Rembrandt, who as an artist, I love Rembrandt's work anyway. So it's kind of bringing this old master into a contemporary realm. Mm-hmm. And Dario, what would yours be?
Mine would be a Catalan Hotel, second week 2, by David Hockney. And yeah, it's a piece that that I keep going back to, and I don't have it. It's very expensive, but it's a print and it's on 2 sheets of paper and it's 198 centimeters. And and it's 73 centimeters high or 76. But you actually, as you read something, I see it from left to right. You see it in its entirety, and then you just see it from left, and you read it, and it's just something. Yeah, I can't even explain it. It's something that I have to I revisit every couple of weeks, and I look at it, and I spend time with it, and he did a whole series of these while he was staying at the Catalan hotel. And this seems to be, it was the first, well, it wasn't the first. Was it day one? Actually, it's day one. It's day one, sorry, because week 2 was just he became kind of freer and easier and looser, and the colours kind of sung more. But this one, this was the one they spent time on, and it has more detail, and it's, in a way, it was where he was kind of laying the foundations for what came next with them, and it became simpler and simpler and simpler with them. But yeah, it's just one that it's just lovely. It's just lovely. And there's that, really.
That's one of the lovely things, especially about Hockney. As someone with such a prolific output, you can really see his development by print practice, and things like becoming more and less experimental, actually more experimental in his older years. Yeah. I'd like to maybe kickstart this conversation discussing prints as a community. Something that's always pleasantly surprised me since joining My Art Broker is there's a very tangible sense of community shared among us in the world of print. Maybe that's because the medium itself is inherently collaborative, or maybe it's because it's the medium where artists have the most breathing room to experiment, while the finished product itself is a collectible work of art. Jack, you and I have spoken about prints as an art form that really pulls people together, and Woolwich has brought a diverse and growing audience of print enthusiasts every year. So how do you see fairs like yours cultivating a sense of community among collectors and creators?
Well, I think, as you mentioned, the print it's a collaborative effort in its both conception and all the way through, even down to, the artist's relationship with the dealer, the fact that it is in multiples, so that when you're collecting a piece, there's almost like a club, I suppose, when there's a certain amount of buyers have all got the same piece, and that connects them in some way, unlike, say, painting on off. And so that only that one person has that piece. So I think how we have run the fair, we try to bring people together in terms of, so we have galleries of 50% of it, as well as independent artists, and there's the kind of synergy between the two. I think it's about, as we develop and we engage with more people and try and pull together and let them understand, because I think there has been there's like an educational side of this that we need to develop and to bring people together, because print is, I suppose, as our society is very much with, it works in multiples anyway, the way that clothing and all of that is in multiples. Print is a perfect example to step into that.
Mm-hmm. And Matt, you've also said that Avant Art collectors are fanatic about what you guys do. So how do the timed releases and your approach to edition sizes following on from that fuel that sense of belonging among your collector base? Yeah,
I think it's a really interesting thing to think about. I think when you think of editions, very often, and we experience this a lot, very often it's someone's first time collecting a piece of art. So it's really their first kind of time stepping into discovering and understanding what the world of art is. And I think that fosters a sense of community, because they're all discovering it together at the same time. And the online communities that you can see around our print releases, for example, are really quite, really touching to see, because it really means that we're doing something that, people identify and connect with. I also think that's probably why we focus so much on storytelling and education. That's why we focus so much on the content that surrounds the editions, because we understand that the community that is engaging with us is a community that wants to learn, wants to experience, what it means to collect art. And I think that's a really important thing to remember.
Yeah, and I guess jealous as well, like you are also facilitating a lot of collectors who are maybe at the beginning of that journey and ushering them into the world of collecting.
Yeah, absolutely. Can I just say, Matt, I just bought the Grayson Perry that you did. So good.
Yeah.
I mean,
please. Send me a picture of it when it's hung on the wall. Send me a picture of it when it's hung on the wall.
But it was just so lovely. And, you know, coming from that print world, you know, you look at it kind of Make Ready have just done such a good job on it.
Oh, thank you.
Just honestly, it's just such a good print. And I spend time with it. And again, it's one of the, you know, I collect works as well. And, you know, in my place, I'm not going to have things that because they should be there or they reflect, you know, it's just stuff that I love. And that is just beautiful. I go back to it and I think, God, that was good. But yeah, jealous. Yeah, we're different, but the same. That you work with artists, and we have the printers, and you set them up with the printer. You know, and certain artists just want to work with that printer, and there's a relationship, as you were saying. They have this relationship, and they get the best out of each other, and yeah, it does bring people together. And it's only in the outside world that we kind of say, oh, he's a graph artist, or he's a street artist, or he's a graphic designer, he's fine art, and he's more contemporary. And it's inside the studio. I like it when we're working with 2-3 different people. You have Michael Craig Martin talking to Anthony Burrow, who's a graphic designer, or Ben Iron, who's a street artist, and they're just artists. It's outside that we give them, that we put them in, not in boxes, that's the wrong thing to say, but it's there, you kind of, you know, put them into their divisions. But they're artists. And that's what's nice when you hear them talking. You know, it's David Strigley who's just talking to them. It's not Yinka Shonibari, maybe it was. But they're just talking about art, you know, so, you know, they're kind of talking about the work. And I think that comes through when you put the work out. And of course, we live in a world that, as you say, it's art. Prints, yeah, they do kind of bring people together, and it's a more affordable way to start collecting. And it's, I don't want to say safety in numbers, but so many people, they, you know, they're buying that, and they like, I'm just being honest, you're buying that, and they trust each other. And you're right, it's a community. But yeah, I like working with artists, and yeah.
Do you see that a lot, where you have artists like talking to each other and sharing tips and maybe like what they're working on?
All the time, yeah, all the time, because it's a safe space. I mean, with galleries and artists, there's that frisson. And sometimes you kind of have a gallery coming in, say, Dario, you know, if I'm doing a paid job for people, and they say, you know, we have a budget and we're doing this, so it's good. When you talk to, you know, and they say, you know, the artists are always saying, we've got to kind of, you know, they're saying, why haven't we shown the new work? And, you know, they're doing new work, and they're, you know, there's that kind of, and you talk to the artists, and they say, the gallery said he was going to show that, but in a print studio, we're all after the same thing, and all kind of bets are off. You know, you talk with the publisher or the gallery, and say, look, we're going to be doing this and this. Okay, that's good. And then you talk to the artist. But the most important thing, the artist has to be happy. I always say that to artists. The younger ones are slightly more, it doesn't matter. No, it does matter. It does matter. Everything is a decision. I'm not there to change it. I'm going to say, look, if we do that, then that's going to happen. And you make them aware, because it's a learning process for them as well. And it's just, and I always say, if you're not happy, just say so straight away. Don't say, that colour will do. If you're not happy, say so. Because if the artist isn't happy, then no one's happy. You know, because I'm not happy, I will stop them do the work. You know, I have to stop and say, you have to be happy with every decision. Whether we have to go back to the start, they have to be happy, because then you get that energy. You get something that you don't get. And also, when they come in, it's like we're working with David Strigley, and there's one print that we're doing, and there's kind of splatter marks. And I was saying to him, I said, look, David, there's these marks. These make sense to me, and these don't. And so he said, yeah, I see what you mean, Dario. Take them out and see what I think. So, you know, you kind of not perfect it, change it, but perhaps make the changes that you could not have done if it was an original, because that's you know, that's it, that's the original. So they kind of, you know, shape it. And so that I like as well.
Yeah, Matt, I guess it's probably the same for you at Avant Arte, especially in the role that you have there, that coordinating.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And it's really wonderful to see the collaboration between the artist, our print studio, Make Ready, that Dario just mentioned, our creative producers, myself. Like it's really an amazing experience to work with these artists, because very often, sometimes it's their first move into that medium. So it's very much an opportunity to explore their work in print, and all of the possibilities that presents. And artists will go to make ready and absolutely fall in love with the place and not want to leave. So it's really exciting to see that. And also when the artist is excited and they're energized, they create some amazing work. So yeah, it's incredible. That synergy is just really amazing to watch and be a part of.
Yeah. And Jack, I guess you're at a different point in this journey where you're like seeing everything come together with like all the galleries that you work with at the fair and individual artists. Yeah,
I mean, it's a nice kind of culmination of the rest of the year and all the work that's gone up to that point. I just want to pick up, historically, print has always been the way in which artists have shared ideas, and I think that's kind of continues now, because before the internet, there was no way of really developing artistic ideas amongst your peers, and so because these paintings that you might have produced, somebody's bought and they're in somebody's private collection, so people will be making prints to share with each other. And then the process of making a print is actually quite, because it's done in kind of layers, it gives you time to sit back and not be kind of immersed in it. When you're painting, you're kind of up close, and you can start worrying that you're going to overwork the piece. And with a print, you're always there. You've got these stages to kind of maybe step back a bit, liaise with somebody, get the advice from someone like Dario, and kind of push it on further. So it always comes out as really dynamic and exciting because you've had that multiple input.
Yeah. As print collectors become increasingly global, Dario and Jack, I know that like the fair's based in Woolwich, and Jealous is obviously like a London-based gallery. Avant Arte, slightly different story. But how can publishers, fairs, and platforms bring about an international sense of community?
I'm not sure what that means. How can we bring a sense of community? Well, going back to Hockney, there's one thing that he did say with prints, very simply goes, you're making a print, you can get it out there. But then you're right, we fight over so many, there's just so much there now. There's so much there. It's like, how do you kind of select, and how can you kind of go to different places to find it? And the one thing that I do find is I like clothes. Probably doesn't look like it now, but I like clothes. And the thing is I go to stores on the whole that I know that I like what they do. And it's the same. I go to galleries that on the whole, they have an ethos that I like. And then I go there trusting, that the art, and I'll hear what they say about the art, and you trust what they're saying, because we're living in a world now that, yes, we make editions, but the contemporary print market just used to be shown during the day. It never made the big auctions, were never in the evenings. They were all old masters. They were modern, which is like, I suppose, from Cézanne or right through. But now they have taken precedence, and you see the big contemporary auctions where the money's being made. Yes, there's still the modern, but it's the people collect them, but also it's sometimes I think, how come there's so many editions now? And I do think that you not to be careful. You can buy art, but it's a product, and there's art that is art, and there's so many kind of. It's just knowing about it, in the sense. I always say, just go to art exhibitions, go to galleries, and never buy from somewhere where they say, if you don't buy it now, just never kind of scare people into buy. Just it's art. We love it, but it's you should have it because you love it, and that's it. And just be informed about it, and just go to places that galleries and studios or wherever, and places like Avant Arte, like us, like your fair, like yourselves. Where you can talk about it and you can back it up, and it's not just a product that you're just doing it to sell, make money. We all need to make money. I understand that, but the one thing, and I was talking to a dealer at the London Art Fair, it's the truth is, people go and say, oh, you're an art dealer. Truth is, all these people, everyone's selling art, they love it. You get these dealers, they love it. All of us here actually love it, and that's the truth. There's a passion. We're driven by passion. That's why we do it. I mean, we could have chosen lots of other careers, but we're lucky and fortunate enough to work in a sector, in an area, doing the things that we love. and it's a privilege rather than, you know, and that's what people forget as well. When you get dealers, oh, it's a dealer. It's like almost, you hear it sometimes, oh, he's a dealer. It's like not derogatory, but it's like kind of, oh, it's a dealer. These people love what they show. Love what they show.
So we run an international open call through the fair, and I think the good thing about print is that the artist can apply to multiple places all over across the world. So if you're thinking about fostering a community internationally, our open call is international, so it allows us to then have an artist that's working in, say, Argentina to send over, say, maybe 10 editions over to be in the fair, and then retain some for their local base. So I suppose in that sense, you're creating these networks all across the world. And we do find actually you start to develop, there does tend to be themes internationally, or like, you know, regional styles as well, which is, you know, I think there's, you know, kind of a Nordic style, very much a kind of Scandinavian trends, and it's very different to works down in kind of France and Spain. So yeah, there is that, and then bringing it together with the fair, as we do, you do kind of bring that international audience together.
Yeah.
No, and I was just thinking that we, you know, something I'm proud to be able to say that we do is we try and actively work with artists that do diversify across all categories, you know, because, you know, we want to be engaging as many people as possible with the art that they identify with, you know, and that they engage with, and they want to see, you know, I strongly believe that one of the reasons that people still engage with art in such a digital world is because they see themselves reflected back in it. So if people aren't seeing themselves in the work that they're buying, then they're not going to engage. So, you know, we're very keen to work with a really diverse group of artists.
That segues nicely into the next topic I wanted us to explore, which is accessibility. The wider art market, to me, and I'm sure to many other new younger collectors, can seem a bit untouchable at times, kind of concealed behind a smoke screen and designed for a very specific smaller demographic. But the prints market, as we've already explored, really offers something for everyone, from aspiring enthusiasts looking to buy their first Shrigley to people looking to collect an entire edition of Warhols. So Matt, I'll start with you on this one. But when it does come to that question of accessibility, Avant Arte, much like My Art Broker, stands at an interesting juncture as an online first platform.
Yeah.
So I think Avant Arte uses storytelling beautifully to connect collectors to artists and their work. And how does that storytelling approach look to demystify prints and engage new audiences?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we're looking to release an edition, we want to think about how we're going to best engage collectors. So whether that be about the practice itself, so the artist and the way that they work and the themes that they explore in their work, or whether it be about how the print was produced, so the kind of printmaking techniques that were employed whilst producing the work, kind of behind the scenes. I think it's really interesting. You know, I think, you know, I read a statistic recently that the kind of Instagram videos or things like that, you know, not us, but kind of brands that show behind the scenes, the making process, it's the one that gets the most clicks, the most interest, because people want to see behind the scenes. They want to see how things are produced. They find it interesting and engaging. And as we were saying earlier, for people that are engaging with prints, when they're first time buyers or they're people that have just started collecting, it's a great way for them to understand not just the print they're buying, but the wider kind of landscape of editions and printmaking.
Yeah, Dari, do you have anything to add on that?
I just don't know, Matt. I agree, but and Jack just agree exactly what you're saying about people knowing. Because luckily we have the small gallery on the ground floor, and then we have 3 floors of print studio. And then the one thing that everyone who works here, it's just be nice to people, obviously, but say when there's people there, just take them upstairs, show them the studio, and that's really when they really engage. And you kind of talk about, why does it say 15 colour silk screen? It's because we make the screen there, we separate the colours, and then the paper, and we proof it, and the paper that we use is cotton, so it can stretch, and just all the elements. And when they come downstairs, you know, I love it when they kind of go to a print and they go, that's a 15 colours print. Yep, yeah. So they did that, you know, and they become invested. And it's not wrong that people want to talk about the art. For whatever reasons, you want to have knowledge when you buy something. Yeah, yes, you want to say, oh, this is the artist, and he did this. It was Tony Price nominee, and this. But you want to kind of look at it and say what they were talking about, which you guys do very well. So Matt, which you do very well. But it's just that I'm buying a process as well, and I'm looking. Someone's put their heart and soul, you know. That they can take months to make an edition. You know, people forget that when you mix the inks, you do them by hand. You can mix about 5 colours a day, and then you have to change them because and when you talk to people, they go, wow, and it's nice.
It's the use of the word print, I think, is always difficult. There's such a misconception around it. So the use of the word print, we only really use nowadays with like, say you print off a boarding pass, which is like worthless, instantaneous, and you throw away in about 5 minutes. And so I think, you know, it's trying to move people on from there. So when we set up the fair, we intentionally brought printing presses down on site so people could suddenly see, oh, it's not something that's just a copy and instantaneous. This is the process it's going to go through. And I think that is key, because suddenly people start adding value to it, which otherwise they wouldn't, just because of the name.
Yeah,
I think it was really nice this year at the fair as well. You had like multiple stations where you were invited to actually make things as well.
Yeah, because there's a lot of things that people don't realise with most relief and intaglio prints. You know, everything's in reverse, so a lot of people start kind of getting really clever and think they're having a great time, start writing words down, and then suddenly print it out and realise that everything's in reverse. So kind of makes them think a bit differently. When you actually have to start making something, you start seeing the challenges that are associated with it.
Yeah, and you run quite a lot of workshops at the fair as well, and I know that we've all touched on this in terms of being accessible. Education is so important. Could you tell us a little bit more about the talks that you run at the fair and how that looks to engage?
Yeah, so we run a number of talks. You know, everything from say the history of print, and people showing how it's developed over the years. You know, I think one of the things I've always enjoyed is the fact that almost no print technique was actually used to make an artwork. Everything stemmed from something else, and someone found, we could put ink in that armor pattern that we've made, and then actually make a print out of it. All the way across to say the role to print position within the art market, like we're kind of talking about now, and then to things like just topics that we find interesting, not specifically about print, but sort of mothers and how they're kind of adapting to the challenge of having children, and then moving in and moving back into making art. So it's trying to bring all these things together and see that it's not just, you know, a print on a wall that was created nice and easily. It's about, again, telling the stories and the difficulties and kind of making people think a bit differently.
Yeah, I think also, Matt, as well as having that educational role with your storytelling at Avant Arte, there are a lot of works that are offered at a lot of different price points, that makes things inherently accessible. So what role does pricing play in bringing prints into people's homes?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the edition market is something that has varying layers to it. It's not kind of one blank. So the editions that are at the top end of the market, that, for example, you guys deal with at the 50 kind of gram plus, that's a very different edition and a very different stage in one's collecting life than perhaps an edition maybe that is, for example, a time limited that we produce, for example. That's a great way to start collecting art. It's accessible, it allows you to engage with the collecting, and that's what then allows people to buy the next level and the next level and keep going. So I think the price point is very important in terms of keeping the collecting of art democratic, but also allowing for varying types of print. So yeah, that's kind of where I think pricing plays its role.
And what about at Jealous, Dario?
Yeah, when we work with the younger artists, I always kind of, to be honest, if they start saying, "Oh, we'd like to sell this at kind of £500," and I was saying, and they always kind of value it slightly more and the whole sum less, and I say it's much better to sell it. What your aim is for us to sell it at a price that doesn't stand in the way of the work. You're at that point in your career. You're young. You want them on people's walls, speaking for an artist, and that means just have a price that reflects that is real, and you can then, yes, you can go up as you kind of get more and more recognized, but people want them more, and you can go up, but it's just be honest with the pricing. Don't ever let the price. I always say it's better to have sold them out at that price and have them on wall than have not sold them at a higher price. You just want to get them out. You want to get them out there, and it's an addition. That's why you print it. When people say, "Oh, but it's an addition," if you just kind of worried about talking about selling, just make your original. We are there to sell the works. But as I always say, selling doesn't mean selling out. You can do it honestly, you can do it properly, and you want to look after the artists. You want to do it so it works for everybody. That's what I think about the pricing. And of course, you come with artists that we make editions, but they already have a pricing structure. So sometimes I have to fit into that pricing structure. And so, that they sell at that price. So we have to do that. We have to, play the game, because though we're publishing, they come from showing with other galleries. And so I have to fit in with the price. Whether, on the whole, they're fine, but yeah, and never you can't go down. People don't like the artwork. They don't like the price of the art going down. So we say, let's go up. But just start off that kind of, and then build up.
Yeah. With the.
That's the advice we always give.
Sorry.
I just said that's if we always give to artists who through our open call is to kind of price low and then build up once you've got that out there, and you're building your reputation and kind of where to begin, because often you can kind of put a price on and then you don't know why it didn't sell. If you bring the price down, then at least you can know why it might have been, and then slowly bring it up so you're at the level. So I'm just echoing Dario's comments.
Yeah. I think I wanted to move on to talk about challenges in the future of print collecting. Prints are increasingly being seen as both accessible artworks and a cultural currency. But this growth comes with a host of challenges. So how do we as publishers, fairs and platforms ensure that accessibility doesn't tip into oversaturation? And how do we create a space for future generations of collectors while preserving the values that make print such a unique part of the art world? And Dario, I think it's interesting what you said about art being a currency, but selling doesn't mean selling out.
Yeah.
So how can publishers and artists maintain that balance in the market of today?
Well, I'll be honest, it's not us who decide that. It's the people that buy. That's you have artists that have that do very well very early and go up, and then I don't want to say fall out of fashion. That's the wrong way, but they're not collected as much. So prices, we're primary market, as you are, Matt. You sell it at the price, and then once the edition's sold out, or even when it hasn't, it goes out into the ether, and then dealers buy them, and the market dictates. So that's out of our hands. All I can do is give it the price at that point, and then to try and sell them. For the artist, for the studio, for the gallery. But then once they're sold out and they go to it's called the secondary market, we all know. Then it's we step away. It's the market dictates. Dealers want to some dealers want to make kind of perhaps price them too high, but you see the results at auction. You can go to any auction house and type in the name, past lots, upcoming lots, past lots. You see what they go. People know now. People, everything is there for us to see. So I don't know how much we can kind of control the market, especially from a studio's point of view. That I don't know. All you can do, because then it goes out and people buy them for different reasons. We started with Charming Baker years ago. It's an old friend. Really affordable. People would buy them because they loved the image. They loved it. Didn't know the artist. Didn't give a shit about his name. They loved the work. Then slowly, people start buying it because, oh, someone sold it. So they buy it because they love the image, they love the work, but they know it has a currency. And do people buy because it has a currency? Yes, of course. Yeah.
We've actually had an interesting question come from the audience on this subject. Matt, maybe you could answer this one. Darren asks, I'm a big fan of both Avant Arte and Jealous, but I wonder, is the market too saturated? Multiples feel more special and valuable when they're limited, but timed releases remove scarcity.
That's an interesting question, because I'm not sure I agree that they remove scarcity. I think, as we were talking earlier, limited editions and time releases both have their place within the editions market. I think it's unfair and perhaps not productive to compare them, because they're servicing, as we were saying, two very different markets, almost two different kinds of collecting ambitions. I think for us, kind of to answer as well, that in tandem with the question you asked at the start, which was, how do we mitigate the risks of saturation? For us, we take it very seriously. The artists that we're working with, that we have their best interests in mind. In terms of their market, in terms of pricing, our kind of process in that regard is very, very thorough. We don't want to work with an artist to produce an edition that is going to have a detrimental effect on their market. Hopefully, we're producing editions that people don't want to sell. So I haven't seen them pop up very often yet. So hopefully that means that people are hanging on to them and not considering them as just opportunities to buy and sell.
I also think that the time releases are going back to that point about community. Once that edition size is established, you are officially part of the community of people that own that print. And I don't think that necessarily makes things like less valuable because more people are part of that community of collectors.
Yeah, absolutely.
How did it work with the Perry release?
In what regard?
Was it what was the final edition with that?
Final edition, I knew you were going to ask me that. I can't recall the exact number. It was 1,000 and something.
Yeah.
It performed extremely well, which means that people. Dario, you actually might know the edition number because it'll be written on there.
1,184.
No, you're one of them.
Roughly. Can I just go on about that? To talk about that, it's okay. Well, I was doing the talk. We were doing the talk at the Royal Academy for the academicians about what are prints. This is years ago, and the thing is, I took two of the Hockneys. I've got the small Hockney paper pulled, which is kind of, I don't know, 30 centimeters by 26, maybe even smaller. I took another Hockney that I had. It's an edition of 68, and I forget what it's called, big piece. And I was saying 4,500, 20,000 for the edition, and that's an edition of 1,000, the paper pull. And you think, why is that? Because it's perfect. Because it's perfect. And and it has a big currency. So yes, that Grayson Perry, but it's a beautiful Grayson Perry. And I don't kind of sit there and say, oh, but it's an edition. I just say, look at it, how good is that? And it moves me. And that's the thing. And, yes, and it's the numbers, yes, they have people want a smaller edition, they want that. But also, at the end of the day, it's the image. It's the image that you buy. Yes, you may buy the name, but it's the image that you buy. And how many are there? So what? As I was saying, 1,000 Hockney worth that. So if you're talking about money, it's, and again, it's the people. It's not us that have decided whether that's going to be worth a lot. It's the people that have then, once we've sold out, then that's what the zeitgeist is. That's what the market dictates, and that's So it is. I don't know.
I was going to say, I think some of the challenges that the industry has is also some of the what makes it so exciting and interesting. I think what Avant Arte's done with doing those timed launches, I think it's really innovative and taking kind of ideas from other industries and bringing it in. I think that is what makes print so appealing. It can also be at some point one of the challenges, because I think, again, we've talked about education. As people understand, you're trying to spend the time saying, well, this is why we've got one over a number and this is the reason it is. And that can cause confusion. So I think it's about how we continue to kind of show people how these various different forms work. Because I think it is an amazing thing that you guys do. I think it's really clever. I love how I love how it's kind of almost like gamifying the experience of buying and like making it an enjoyable experience and like not really knowing what the end number is going to be, and it kind of creates excitement. But then I think the real challenge is about educating people between them, and then what is effectively a replica print is what I would use the red line that people don't understand. What would maybe devalue an original print is because somebody might think that that it's the same as a replica print. So it's trying to create that divide. So if I was saying moving ahead, it would be trying to make the terminology quite standardized as we move forward, so it's easy for people to grasp moving forward.
How else do you guys think the print market can adapt to remain relevant and engaging? Because I feel like we're having such a moment right now, but how do we continue that? That's open to anyone.
I think this is something that perhaps was accelerated by the pandemic, or became very apparent to us as creative businesses, that the online and the offline are not opposing forces to one another. They're two sides of the same coin. They need to work in synergy together. And I think the kind of businesses that will thrive in the coming years will be the ones that figure out how to synergize those two modes of engagement with collectors. Because as Dario was talking about the Perry print and his experience of it in real life, that's something that I often crosses my mind when I look at photography of our editions. As good as the photography is, it still just doesn't quite do justice to how brilliant the print is. And therefore seeing it in the flesh is really important, I think.
Yeah. Jack and Daria, what do you think about that? How can the print market adapt and remain relevant? Maybe if there are lessons to be learned from other industries.
Well, I think. Go on, Jack. In you go.
Sorry. I think what has been exciting and interesting is how the print market, because it is in multiples, can look at trends in other markets and then maybe use that and play with it and be slightly more playful, because you've got that freedom to have a go and do something a bit different. So I think that is really encouraging, because you found a bit where the rest of the art market can't quite as much. So I think, and then again, I'm just going to keep saying it again, like it's educating how you reach your audiences is the key. Obviously social media has played a massive part of being able to kind of show people. You don't have to take them around to a studio. You do these videos and you can engage, and we can do talks like this. And I think that there'll be more of that as we come.
Yeah, Derek. Oh, sorry, I think I've lost you a little bit. If I have another fun question for us to explore on this topic, but if you could predict one major trend or transformation in the art world and market in the next 5 years, what do you guys think it would be?
If I knew. I don't know. I think I don't think it's so much of a trend as being aware of the younger artists that are coming through. In times of where people don't have much money, but they still have money to buy some art, they do defer to the names that they know. They come into, that we had one at the show. They said, "Oh, Dario, I like this artist who was on the wall. It doesn't matter who it was." And I was saying, "Yeah, I love this artist. She's having a residency here. She's kind of having a show there. And how much is it?" It's like £400. And framed it and gave him the price. And I said, "Look, do you like the artist?" He goes, "Yeah, I love the artist." They went, "Oh, okay, we'll buy the shrink." They'll defer to something that they think it's a safe haven or something they understand. And I think in times like that, those artists get lost. So in times of where it gets tough, I do think there's a whole section of artists that aren't names, but who are making really relevant work, they're perhaps getting lost. But print is a good way for them to, it's the only way in a way for them to really get the work out and people get to know them and people get to see them. Because the prints, I mean, the difference for print and original, because you have original prints, but what I mean, the big canvases is that artists, they're more relaxed with them. And they, when they make originals, you know, they put this is it, this is the one. With prints, yes, they do them, but they're more liberal, they're freer, they're kind of more experimental, and they're kind of more relaxed. Perhaps because not that they put less importance on it, but they're freer because there's going to be additions of, there's not so much onus on them, and there's a vitality that you don't get. How them lasting, I don't know. It's down for the galleries and the print publishers to support the younger artists. Will it be changing? I don't know. I certainly don't think that NFTs was the way for us. We didn't do any NFTs, and that it just didn't feel right for me, because that was all too much about the money, too much about people coming to us. And they'd say, Darry, it'd be really good. You're an artist and you can make so much money. And are you in? I was saying, no, because all you've spoken about is making money. And I know the art industry, you know, we all need to make money, but this really was using the art. We're using artists as a vehicle to make money, when that's not what it's about. Prints, especially prints, are the everyday artists. You look at Rake's Progress, it's just about the everyday, you know, the way we live, and there's a fluidity in that, and they're not trying to put 10 million ideas into one thing. There's just lots of little moments. It's a diary for artists, and once you see it, that's when you really respond to the zeitgeist. It's making it relevant. So I think prints will just carry on, but it's just understanding, it's just making it relevant in the same way. It's like a friend of mine does music, and he was saying something like the Beach Boys. You know, the Beach Boys were the same as the Arctic Monkeys, were the same as punk, were the same as rave, the same. All these musical styles. It's appealing. It's just saying the same things or making you feel the same things to that generation there. And it's just making sure that we appeal to the people and working with artists that, yeah, I don't know, just reflecting the zeitgeist. And you're working, and they're working, reflecting, as you were saying, Matt, it's just reflecting what's around you.
Yeah. Jack, how does the print fair do that? Because obviously you're about to embark on your 10th edition. How are you guys updating it? I know that it's grown a lot, but what's going to be different this year, maybe?
I don't think we're going to try and analyze anything in particular. I think it's about doing what we do better and reaching a bit further. I think to your previous question, I don't necessarily think there's going to be massive change in the art market moving forward. I think there's just going to be continue down the journey that we're already down. I think there'll be more of the big names looking to add print to their repertoire. I think we'll look. I think artists will maybe become more rounded, so they are at its prints and then other parts of their other practices. So they're trying to appeal to a wider art market, and the wider. And so I think with the fair, we're just looking to continue what we do, create that engagement. I think there is something to do with experience in buying. I think is maybe where we're going. I think it's how you make that an exciting experience, which again we've already touched on with the timed drop, and so at the fair, how we create that story and enjoyment. So because I think Darren, you mentioned it earlier about people like to tell people about the artwork, talk about it. That's part of the experience of buying. Why did you select this? Because when I did this and I had a talk with this artist, and did you see that in this work there's a hidden figure here that's actually reflective of something, it gives them something to talk about. And I think things might become a bit more experiential moving forward.
What do you think the future holds?
Yeah, I think that I was thinking actually as Dario and Jack were speaking, how important, without being too self-important, how important all of what we do is so important for the future, of the art market, because in a position to really foster the next generation of collectors and patrons of artists. As Dario was saying, artists need people to buy their work. It is a necessary part of the process. And the people that are like, for example, when I first started buying art, I started buying editions and prints, and as I've moved forward, I've started to buy, paintings and sculptures and, and things like that. So it really does engage the next generation and moves them forward. And if there's not the patrons there to support the artists and the galleries, then they're going to have a tough time surviving and continuing to produce the kind of enriching kind of cultural experiences that galleries do. And artists, obviously, they're nothing without their artists. But I think the next generation is the most important. I've got to sound like my grandfather now. Next generation of collectors is really important.
Yeah, completely agree. I want to leave some time now at the end just to have any questions come through from the floor. So if you do have any questions, just pop them in the chat. I've got one here. How do you think that the primary market has changed in the last 10 to 15 years as the secondary market has evolved? Has it had a positive effect on the knowledge of what a print is at creation and the gravity of an original work?
I'm not sure how to answer that. I think I think the primary market, the secondary market exists because there's a primary market, and the primary market, so it's for us working the primary market to make the decisions to perhaps we're the ones that shape the secondary market. But then I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I would say that the secondary market it helps the primary market in the sense that, or say with print, as obviously as the auctions that in the secondary market are reaching new massive figures, people are looking at the primary market as more of an investment, and the fact that you have prints that you can see it hit this at certain points. So maybe people, if they are looking, means they're more willing to kind of buy things in the primary market with the hope and that they will make that amount potentially later. If you can buy the prints are going on the secondary market for £50,000 plus, means that when you're maybe looking to get something for a couple of hundred or £1,000 that you hope is going to kind of reach that figure one day. So maybe that's how it's helping.
Mm.
Can I say something? But yes, I agree. But the thing with the secondary market, if we know that that the artists that are doing well, the temptation is for lots of people working in the primary market just to work with those artists because it has that currency after, and that's always our kind of not worry about. But there is that we may be creating an audience that really kind of see the value going up as part of the buying, and that's always one of the things that comes up, because I'll have stuff on my wall that I know that will never go up, and I have works that I know that will, and I have bought works, and when I buy works, to be honest, to sell because I know they're going to make money, that's why I buy it. But I do put stuff on the wall. There's stuff on my wall, it's not for sale, it's just because it does something for me. But I do think about that because we have that temptation. Say, oh, can we do another print? It's like they'll bring in money, but it's like, no, I can't, because we say no to more. Yeah, it's a difficult one.
I entirely agree. I agree with you. I think it's how it influences, not necessarily the right or wrong, for good or bad.
No, I know. It's just I know. But then again, it's the art market. So yeah.
Another question that's just come through. I recently saw that Enter Gallery has stopped trading. Is this a troubling time for art?
No. I don't. I think galleries go. There are galleries that do well in good times, and when there's more money going around. That's why I was saying buying from places. I'm not saying that Enter because we work with Enter, but it's. They're good when they're good. But when things go tight, you retract on what you buy, and it just wasn't reflecting what people wanted, I guess. So I do think, when things get touched, you batten down the hatches and you just work with the artists. Maybe they would, I don't know why.
I think it's true, and I think it is there are lots of great artists out there, lots and lots of great galleries. Unless you're doing something that's very individual and interesting, it's difficult to get people's attention. So I think and also the way in which I think some galleries build themselves is perhaps not the most the most appropriate. I'll kind of leave it as vague as that. Because it has to be run as a business in order to be able to put on and produce the kinds of exhibitions that they want to produce. And I think sometimes, unfortunately, that doesn't quite happen. Those two things don't quite meet and connect.
And there are some galleries that, which I hate, when they just talk about the percentage growth of the value of the works, and they sell because of that. And that's just not good. That's just not good, because it's not good for the artists, it's not good for the people buying. And then if they don't fulfill the expectations that they've given people who shouldn't be buying it in the first place for that reason, then that's when there's collapsing.
Yeah, always has to come back to a love of the art.
Kind of, but I'm also don't disagree with people buying art to sell. I don't disagree with that, but that's when you're when the art is being sold for that reason only, and that sits above what you're buying, the work, then it's like...
I think we'll have time for this one last question that I really want you guys to answer, which has just come through. Do you think there's an artist or movement right now that will define the next era of print collecting?
Matt, over to you. I don't.
Erin, can you read the question one more time?
Do you think there's an artist or movement right now that will define the next era of print collecting?
No,
so
I don't.
Basically, who to watch?
I don't think there is, not because there isn't one, but I think there are many. And I think the thing that I'm excited by in terms of the way in which we're approaching it is something I kind of alluded to earlier, which was working with such a diverse group of artists. I think actually artists who have been previously underrepresented, still, even though the conversations have been ignited, I think will really come to the fore, I think, in the next few years and really carve out a movement for themselves. And, I think those will be the exciting ones to watch. I mean, they'll be the ones I'll be watching at least.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say is I think as technology is developing and people are looking to combine more, sort of handmade techniques with new technologies, I think is something that we are seeing within our fair when people are applying to the fair. There's people embracing, say, like we've only talked about print really as a 2D thing today, but obviously there's 3D print coming through, and we've noticed it really in the last 2 years that there's been a whole load more sculptural pieces come through, which I think is something that is building. But whether that's kind of a whole art movement in the next kind of decade, I'm not sure.
Yeah, can't believe it, but we've run out of time already. So just a huge thank you to Matt, Jack and Dario for this. It's been such a great discussion about the power of print and the future of collecting. Obviously, if you guys have any more questions for any of the panelists, feel free to reach out via email after the call. And also just a reminder that we have 3 more amazing panels coming over the next 2 days. So yeah, sign up for those. But thank you all so much.
Yeah, cool.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you.